Okay, somebody wanted to know what made banjos and guitars sound different, since they're all made out of the same thing. Well, they're not made out of the same thing. They're made out of wood and steel and brass and plastic, and all these things have a different resonance, which makes a totally different sound. Now this is an open back banjo, and it's got a light tone ring. Matter of fact, it almost doesn't have a tone ring here on the head. It's got a ring around the base of the head that this ring pushes down on and tightens the head. Hadn't tuned this one up in a long time, and it's a little bit worried today. I can't find my little socks. He's disappeared. Hope something hadn't got him, because I've got lots of varmints in this neck of the woods. But you notice it's got a lighter sound than one with a resonator on the back. But I like an open back banjo. I'm thinking about putting a skin head on this, because I used to have, what I learned on was an old Stewart banjo made around 1900, had a skin head on it. But that's what I learned on. And it's probably better to learn on something like that, because you have to work a little harder to get the notes out on it. But I think this head may be just a little slack. But that's an open head, open back banjo, and it's pretty lightweight, and that makes a lot of difference in the tone. The weight of an instrument will give it a more mellow tone, and lightness will usually give it more brass. this banjo has a pretty light tone ring on it. It don't have a heavy steel tone ring on the top. It's got a little heavier band on here, plus the resonator. Gives it a little louder sound. But the weight of the tone ring in one, now some of them are made out of brass and they've got them made out of stainless steel. Some are just made out of common steel and then chrome plated. Brass tone rings give a pretty mellow but ringy, different kind of tone. It's a little twangy. A lot of bluegrass banjo players prefer a brass tone ring because of the way it resonates and rings for a long time. But the light weight and the quality of the laminate in the wood makes a big difference in the resonance of but you can tell the light weight of it gives it a little ringy sound to it. Now, when you get into something like the Gibson, of course, it's got a maple neck on it, and you can see the grain of the wood in it. A maple resonator, and maple being a very ringy type wood. Now those banjos have mahogany necks, and it gives it a little this thing weighs a ton. You ever wonder why most banjo players are short? Because they've got a 20-pound banjo hanging around their neck. They used to be tall when they started playing, but after 20 years of playing banjo, they shrunk at least a foot. You remember String Bean? He was big, tall guy. Well, he played an open back skinhead banjo, lightweight. Well, it didn't pack him down. But you look at all the other banjo players, they started probably at 6.5 feet tall, and before you know it, they're 5.5 feet tall. And they're almost always bent over in their shoulders. That's because these heavy banjos. Now this thing has a heavy tone ring. You can see right there, you can see the tone ring. That is a heavy piece of steel. This thing weighs roughly 15 to 20 pounds. I've never weighed it. But that tone ring gives it that long sustain. Now that one has some sustain on it, but you'll notice the tone was totally different and it didn't ring as long. And that thing rings a long time. Now that tone ring is what makes it ring that way. But that thing really rings good, and one thing that makes them so expensive, these tone rings are not cheap. And then you get a really good rosewood fretboard on it, and what they use now is not Brazilian rosewood, but it's Indian or African rosewood. They've got rosewood plantations now that are actually growing wood for musical instruments. And they've now started harvesting that stuff in the past 10 years. In tropical environment, it don't take long for a tree to grow. But that's the difference in the sound of an instrument. But now Gibson, I've always thought that Gibson makes the best sounding banjo of any of the others. I've had Vega and Ode, but none of them sounded as good as the Gibson. That's the reason you'll see most banjo players playing Gibson now. There's several other brands that are good. Shucks, can't even remember the Recording King. Now they make a good banjo. They've made a good banjo for a long time. But they sort of fell out of favor for a while. But Gibson, and I could really kick myself for not buying that RB3 when it was offered to me. I couldn't afford one now for sure. But I may tack a little story on this. I got a good one. I may bring the stuff out here and film it right here on the table. It's about my wife and her wood carving. I think that's what I ought to put. I'll have to go in and get a couple of her pieces of carving and tell you the story about what she did. She joined Wood Carvers Club, and she never had carved anything before. But she decided that, okay, this friend of ours was in the wood carving club, and she decided, okay, let's go join the wood carving club. And we went and joined the wood carving club. And the first night there, they sold her this block of basswood. And she's supposed to carve a boot out of it. Of course, they had several boots that other people had carved there. And so she went home and started carving on her boot. And that's where I'm going to leave the story until I come back with the stuff to show you. Well, I looked for the other little wood carving she did, but I couldn't find it. But anyway, this was my wife's first wood carving job. First thing she ever did, carved a boot. Now the funny thing, she carved the boot, but then she carved, I couldn't find the little flip-flop. She carved a flip-flop. It was about this long. And she went back to the club meeting and said, well, I started carving that boot, but I just kept making mistakes, and here's what I ended up with, and showed them that flip-flop. Of course, they all laughed, and then she showed them her boot she had carved. And of course, she carved that one too. And she carved this. She carved a couple of these dogs like this. And then she carved bells. And she did this one and painted it. And of course, she misted the front of it, and the back side is more natural wood. But that was her talent. She could do anything. Anything she set her mind to, she could accomplish. And she was really good at wood carving. I've got several of her other carvings, but these are the only ones I keep displayed. I've got a display case, and I think I put that flip-flop away, unless one of the cats got hold of it and knocked it off in the floor, and I never will see it again. But that was her work. Yeah, I really miss her. And it's coming up on the 11th anniversary of her death, March the 1st. Yeah, March the 1st will be 11 years. And I really do miss her. And it only seems like yesterday. And now I'm worried about my little cat's socks. He's disappeared. So I've got to go look and see if I can find him. Don't need to lose that little baby. Well, that's that. I get a few more views of her wood carving. When I put them up to the camera, they didn't come out too clear, but this will show you more of the detail. And there's the dog sitting there. And that's Alabama Crimson Tide elephant. detail on that. Was she good or what? And that relief right there of a grist mill. You see the water wheel. The water flowing down. I like her boots too. And that puppy is sure a pretty little puppy. Well, I think I've got enough videos here to put out. Anniversary of her death is coming up, so I just thought I would feature something of hers in this video. Thanks for watching. Hit that little thumbs up button and subscribe, and hopefully my videos are going to get better. Well, I decided to do some of my charred cheese. I guess I can't call them grilled cheese, I can call them charred cheese. Oh. New table. You'll see some of the destruction on the first part of this video, where I had about 200 pounds of ice accumulate on top of this thing, and it caved in right here in front of the door. Of course, they brought this pole down, and it ripped a gash through the top of the tent, so I put a tarp over that. Okay, let's get some heat on the subject. But this time, instead of American cheese, I've got some good old sharp cheddar cheese. And of course I do my face-to-face with the butter, which is not butter, it's parquet. But parquet don't know it's not butter, so I won't tell it. Oh. Yeah, and I love my little teak utensils. Oh. Thought I'd do this afternoon, since I hadn't had lunch. So I decided, okay, why don't I just do some grilled cheese in the tent? Wish my little socks would come home. I'm worried about him. It's not like he can be gone. Of course, a lot of cats in heat around here. They've been here at the house. They come here to get bread every year. I guess my place is sexy or something. Oh, and this is what I was cooking in last time. And this is the name of it, Chinuri or something like that. Whoever knows how to pronounce these names. They just grab letters out of the air. But it's an induction cook set, as well as you can use it on a stove or a fire. And it's non-stick. Good heavy stuff too. I think it's got that center that's, I don't know what kind of stuff is in it, but nice pot. But I'm going to cook something out here on my induction top. Oh yeah! Now that is the way to cook something. When you can smell it start to toast. Yeah, I like mine nice and crisp. I like this little Coleman stove too. Puts out a lot of heat. It was getting a little cool in here, but it feels good now. And this handle snaps loose. You can use it on either one of those other pans. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, I think for time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and put that one over there. I think it's done. Oh, it smells so good. And this is a way to carry your bread already buttered. Just put it face to face. You don't have to worry about it getting stuck on anything it's not supposed to. On one of these kind of stoves, you really want to be careful about not having your pan hang over the top of this. Now, it gets pretty warm as it is, but it's not recommended to have your pan hanging over that. I think really they should have a heat shield there. Which I think that's what I'm going to do, is put a heat shield there. It's got two little notches there I think you can fix something into. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I turned the gas off. Stop my cooking. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I still hadn't straightened everything up. It even mashed my broom handle flat, bent it crooked. That broom handle's been through a lot, but that time it ended its life as a broom. Yeah, that's just right. Yeah, my wife really had those wood carvers laughing when she showed them that little flip-flop that she had carved. And that took some doing to carve that little thing, the straps and everything. Yeah, I had to buy me a tonshu table. I should have gotten the bigger one, but I was in a hurry to get it ordered. My Trekology table is repairable, but at two of the folding joints that had the rivets through them, it ripped the joint completely apart on two of the legs. So I've got to get some metal and splice those together. I've used this all the way since, I don't know, way back in the summer. I put it up right after I did the portable toilet video. It's been up ever since. I'm thinking about getting some nylon to redo these panels up here. They're a little stretchy, nylon is, but I think there's a way I can put some drawstrings in it to pull the slack out of it. Something I think nobody's thought about doing with nylon. You got a metal framework. I think it would be doable. To have a drawstring on the inside that you could pull and tie.